No, I choose people who don't want to be written about on the
Right.
whole, whose lives are shrouded in mystery and they want to hide their secrets. And I just love digging away to find out what they did. Came along into the scene. I just thought this is fascinating. How is this going to play out? To tell the truth, I spoke to very few friends of Meghan because she put a fatwa on anyone talking to me who she could. So I sent off dozens and dozens of emails to her friends, and most of them.
Okay, so you guys know I've been following the Meghan Markle story for ages, and honestly, it's like a never-ending soap opera, but something's brewing that could be a real game. Tom Bower, the guy who wrote Revenge, that super explosive biography, is apparently getting ready to drop another book. And from what I'm hearing, this one's going to be even more brutal. Now, Revenge was already pretty damn it. Everyone treated it like the final word, the ultimate takedown. But apparently that was just the tip of the iceberg. Bauer himself has said he had to leave a ton of stuff out because of the UK's really strict legal laws. Basically, if he couldn't prove something 100% in court, his publisher wouldn't let it in. Entire chapters got shredded, even if they weren't necessarily lies. Think about that for a second. What kind of dirt was so risky, so musical, potentially damaging that it couldn't even be printed in the first version? That's what's got everyone buzzing. But here's the thing, the landscape has changed. Back when Revenge came out, Meghan was still riding high. She had the Spotify deal, the Netflix deal, and she was suing everyone left and right. People were terrified of her. If you were a former staffer or an old friend, you probably kept your mouth shut. Why risk getting dragged into a lawsuit? But now the shine has worn off big time. The Spotify deal went kaput. Netflix is probably sweating and Hollywood's starting to give them the cold shoulder. The fear factor has evaporated. And when the fear goes, so does the silence. That's why this second book is so dangerous for Meghan. Bauer is reportedly going back to those same sources who were too scared to talk before, and this time they're singing. Apparently, a lot of those NDS are expiring too. We're hitting the 5-year mark since Mexit, and people are starting to feel like they don't owe her anything anymore. Some of them are even angry, feeling like she's painted herself as the victim while they were the ones dealing with the fallout behind the scenes. So, what's actually going to be in this book? Well, that's the million-dollar question. But for what I'm hearing, we're talking about stuff that's been whispered about for years, but never actually printed. We're talking about Meghan's life before Harry, before the fame, before she became a duchess. Remember those missing years when she was hustling as an actress? There's a lot of speculation about that time, especially her connection to Soho House and a guy named Marcus Anderson. He was basically her shadow, always around, connecting her with people. Some people even call him a parasite. How did a cable TV actress afford that jet-setting lifestyle? Who was paying for it? What was really going on behind closed door? Bauer is supposedly digging into all of that with a vengeance. He's looking at the money, the connections, the timeline of when she met Harry. Was it a genuine fairy tale romance, or was it a calculated move orchestrated by people who knew exactly what kind of woman Harry would fall for? If he can prove it was the latter, the whole narrative crumbles. Music, and then of course there's the big one, the pregnancies. Okay, so this is where it gets really crazy. I mean, we're talking about the rumors that have been swirling for years about whether Meghan actually carried Archie and Leet. No, it's like the third rail of royal reporting, right? You even mentioned surrogacy and people come at you like you're a conspiracy theorist, but the internet never forgets, and there were definitely things that people noticed. The changing size of the bump, the fact that she was wearing heels and squatting down, which like my pregnant friend were definitely not doing. And then there's the fact that no doctors have ever gone on record to say they delivered the babies. That's usually standard protocol, but it was skipped with both kids. And now there's this name being thrown around, DL. Apparently, this woman is claiming to be the surrogate, and she has paperwork to back it up. Paperwork. I mean, if that's true, it's huge. The story is that it was this whole elaborate operation, clinic visits under fake names, NDS signed like crazy, payments going through offshore accounts to hide everything. It sounds like a movie, right? But here's the thing. Meghan has always been obsessed with secrecy. Remember when Archie was born, they wouldn't say where he was born. They wouldn't show the birth certificate for weeks. And when they finally did, it was edited. Like, she removed her names. Apparently, That's super shady because all the other royal birth certificates have the mother's name on them, and the doctors weren't named either. It was just weird all around. If Bauer goes down the surrogacy road, it's game over. I'm not even kidding. If it turns out that the kids were born via surrogate and the public was lied to, and more importantly, the line of succession was messed with, that's a constitutional crisis. The royal rules are ancient, but they're super strict that a kid in line for the throne has to be born of the body. So if a surrogate was used, Archie and Leet might not technically be eligible for their titles. Imagine the fallout. Meghan has built her entire brand around being a mom. The mama branding on everything. If it comes out that she faked a pregnancy for the cameras, wore a fake bump while getting praise for being a pregnant icon, people will lose it. You can forgive a lot of things, but lying about something like that is just visceral. Bauer doesn't print rumors. He prints what he can defend in court. So, if he includes the DL story, even hints at it strongly, it means he's seen something that convinced him he's not going to risk his career on some internet conspiracy. One of the commentators even said that from his wife's experience being pregnant, there's no way Meghan could have moved around like she did when she was supposedly pregnant. It just didn't look right. So yeah, if this surrogacy thing is in the book, buckle up because it's going to be a wild ride. But let's step back for a sec and look at the bigger picture because Bauer is really good at getting into the why of all this. I think the real tragedy of Meghan Markle, if you even want to call it that, is that she tried to play a role she just didn't understand. Like in her head, she wanted to be Diana, too. There's even a quote in the video where someone says that Meghan thinks she is Diana, that Diana Spencer is Meghan Spencer, and that she could just inherit all the glow and adoration that Diana had, which obviously didn't work out. She saw Diana getting all the magazine covers, all the global attention, and she thought, okay, that's what I want. But she completely missed the whole point of why Diana was so beloved. It wasn't just because she was stylish or whatever. It was because she was vulnerable. She bled in public. Her pain was real. She wasn't trying to curate it or stage it. She just lived through it, and people connected with that. What Meghan never really got, and maybe still doesn't get, is that when she was getting cheered as a working royal, it wasn't because she was Meghan Markle the actress. It was because she represented the British monarchy. All the traditions, the history, the whole thing. Meghan tried to reverse engineer it. She tried to brand suffering. Bauer points out that she started believing her own hype. She thought she could just script her life like an episode of Suits. Scene 1, the victim. Scene 2, the triumph. Scene 3, the global applause. But real life doesn't work that way. Apparently, after the Australia tour, something just snapped in her head. She started seeing herself as some kind of revolutionary. But a revolution needs a cause, and it seems like her only cause was herself. Bauer sources are saying she was obsessed with her own press, checking Google alerts at 2 o'clock. Music. EM screaming at staff if a headline wasn't flattering enough. It wasn't about service. It was about image control. And that's why the whole Diana cosplay just failed. Section 21. You can wear the perfume, you can copy the outfits, but the public has a pretty good radar for authenticity. We know when someone is genuinely hurting, and we know when someone is checking their lighting before they squeeze out a tear. So Bauer is expected to dig into this psychological unraveling. The paranoia, the feeling that the world was against her when in reality the world was just kind of bored of her. Section 22. And that brings us to where things are now. Meghan entered this world thinking she could rewrite the script, center herself in every scene, and edit out anything she didn't like. But the Sussex brand is in free fall. Remember when they were supposed to be this billion-all brand, the richest couple in Hollywood? Section 23. Where is it? Spotify fired them and called them grifters. The Netflix deal is hanging by a thread. The Archetypes podcast flop. The 40 by 40 initiative is gone. The children's book is in the bargain. Hollywood is freezing them out. And this is what Bauer understands better than anyone. Hollywood is a transactional town. They don't care if you're royal. They care if you make money. And Meghan and Harry are bad for business. They bring drama. They bring security headaches. And they don't deliver the number. The A-listers, the Clooneys, the Obamas, the Beyoncés have all quietly backed away. They see the toxicity. They see the way Meghan and Harry treated their families. If they did that to the Queen of England, What will they do to me if a deal goes south? Bauer's new book is supposed to document this freeze out, the unreturned phone calls, the desperate attempts to get invites to the Met Gala or the Oscars only to get snubbed. It's humiliating.